So a lot of what we see is we're coming to Chile, we're going to hire people. Do you think it's important to have people that have worked on site and understand that operational culture, or do you think an outsider can come in and still work in the same?
I think you need a mix.
Yeah.
I think you at least need someone who understands that operations environment. The very first benefit which you get is that the client is going to see that, and immediately there will be a level of empathy which otherwise you wouldn't have.
Exactly.
And that empathy will give a certain amount of confidence and standing to that individual and the company which that individual represents.
Very, very, very interesting. Right now, what we're seeing is that the skills required for mining are changing. And as we move towards more digital, more technology, we're seeing a different skill set that is needed. In your opinion, within the mining companies, is there certain areas that they're lacking in skills that suppliers should understand, that maybe they're going into an environment that the mining companies might not have that much strengths,
Well, I think the challenge which we've got is that most mid to senior leadership continues to be if you're thinking digital, not digital natives.
Yeah.
So there is a nut to crack there. The younger generations and the generations who actually you're going to be working with, I think the language is going to be easier, but the decision makers are going to be in that space. So that's probably the biggest thing which you need to take on. The other piece is, and it feeds from the first one, is, well, we've got lots of data in mining. Outside the sort of resource data, which is well organized because of legal compliance, JORC, etc., reporting requirements, the other data is isn't accessible, is not well structured, and can't be dealt with. And so being able to have whether this is not really a skill, but really having the foresight to say, well, look, there's an infrastructure piece I need to bite off. Yeah. And I can do it small, or I can just go big bang, doesn't matter which approach you take. But I need to order that data. And I see there's been a reluctance, there's an understanding that needs to be done, but when the numbers come in on how much that's going to cost, I see that there's been a certain amount of reluctance to go in there. But then I also think on the tech side, it's been relatively naive in thinking that, well, we'll just get this because it's important. And that's where you need a convergence. So I think it's, rather than specific skills, it's probably more a convergence of generations, and there's conversations which need to happen about that. Just anecdotally, I sat in on a talk around the skills required for a future workforce a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I looked around the table and I said, so we had good diversity, gender diversity, and I said, out of interest, who over here is younger than 40? 2 people put up their hands. Said, who is younger than 35? No one put up their hand. Yeah. And so I said, okay, we're talking about the future workforce, but we don't actually have anyone representing that future workforce. So I think there are things which all companies can do at the end of the day when they have to take on this question is, can we get the right demographic around the table to have a good conversation around that? And not just have a more theoretical conversation around what's required.